what's the crack? See if that's still running. I don't know which way that went about YouTube. Live. Oh, well, it just said it's just the jinx it, did it? And I'm live now anyway. That's the main thing. Oh, God. I had a wee bit of a crash to start with because I had it in the wrong setting, didn't I? YouTube Studio. Content. Live. Of course, it turned itself off, didn't it? Do you want money today? You're not getting any. And I think it's, oh yeah, this one. Just turn you off. Delete. Yes, I understand. Let me see. I think that's probably caused an accident on my side, but that's okay. Your channel. While we're doing that, I will put on this one. There we go. Okay. Oh, is that the wrong one completely? I don't know. It's mad. It's mad. That's the one we actually want. Channel. Close that for sure. Turn this off for sure. Sound coming through that isn't the best. Maybe if I reset it. It's much better. Sorry about that, lads. A bit of a hiccup at the start. You guys hear me fine, or is there a bit of a slowness? Let's give us a second there. Oh. Where's that sound coming from? That's where that's coming from. I was having more sound blaring into my headset there, and I was wondering what the hell's that coming from. And what else is it called? You were saying there, Kevin. Is Kevin still there? I don't know if Kevin's going to reappear again, but he was saying this morning about Phil McCrivcon and his line at the Cent. Oh, there he is. There's Kevin. I was about to say, where's Kevin? There he is. Yeah, that's interesting. All right. I always thought, because I actually wanted to say something there about Phil McCrivcon. I always thought his line of descent died off with him. I didn't realize there were more people connected to around 8:20 when he's gone. I thought that was it. I thought that's the end of Phil McCrivcon, the King of Munster and Ireland, around 8:20 to 8:36, isn't it? Bannerlord. I might as well chuck this out there. Ireland. Bannerlord. Medieval. I'm putting up a short because I did have a bit of time. Now I've run out of time, so I'm going to check it up anyway. I made it there, sure. History Ireland, Bannerlord, medieval, and what was going to chuck in there? These hashtags are wild. 1 second, I'll start chucking that on as well. Media. So what's the deal with the Royal Warriors Abbott? Are you talking about in the early medieval period? Because wasn't it the fact that who was the academic? Your man who specializes in the Scottish War of Independence, and I can't remember his name right now, but he made a very funny point years back, I think about 10, 20 years ago with RTE, that it was just a case of, if you're talking about the early medieval period, it was just a case of, what was it called? Monks behaving like warlords. Bum, bum, bum. If you're talking about the High Middle Ages, then I take it more seriously when it goes to the High Middle Ages, because, well, obviously there's still nut jobs on 1066 and stuff with the Battle of Hastings, quite literally the Battle of Hastings, where you have a monk throwing a club around the place. But I take it more seriously when they go into the Crusades. Before then they're just warlords. All of them are just nut job warlords. History Ireland. I suppose. Oh, YouTube. Looking for YouTube. And just put in Dublin because that's how you get your thing better. There. Yeah, that works. Oh yeah, that's good. Right. I let that just do its own thing. And what else do I need to do? Chicken burger, man! I'd love a chicken burger right now. I haven't even had brekkie yet. And were the first settlers in Iceland Irish monks or Nordic Vikings? Irish monks. You're looking at St. Brendan's voyage to Iceland, and then if you go to there was an academic who proved that you could use an early Irish boat from the 6th century to make your way over to Iceland. Easy enough. So yeah, because the Norman invasion, especially during King John and Henry III's reign, it gave the yeah, didn't haven't looked up into that one actually. What else? Because I was covering King John in Ireland this morning, and the way he was just giving out land to his favorite nobles, so it wouldn't surprise me either. I know the Knights Hospitallers were also taking advantage of the situation, especially around Limerick and stuff. Although the Knights Templars had a pretty healthy relationship with the Gaelic. Anything else I need to do? I will press forward with that one. Play with our buddy again. God, she's a bit narky this morning, isn't she? I'll give her a fresh squeeze there. Anytime you're on doubt, just give her an all fresh. Yeah, she's very. I don't know what to say. Da-da-da. On your side, it's very, very funny, isn't it? Very cranky. These restreams are very funny going through, aren't they? And how's the sound on your side? Can you guys hear the screen? Or is the screen dead on your side? It's like that. She's not even moving on that side. It's frozen still. She's very, very cranky. What I'll do actually is close it on that side. I'll have to just a second there. She's very, very cranky this morning, isn't she? I'll pop up that one. And Twitch. Oh, what the caveman's poor comment. I have a historical map of Ireland that symbolizes the Knights Templar. Oh my god, that's the one I'd love. Pretty ignorant when it comes to medieval history. I sure aren't we all? In and out. Every now and then you can hear the scream, but definitely hear you. That's the main thing. Yeah, she's very cranky this morning. I don't know what the story is. I try to do this stuff, just assuming everything would work perfectly. But no, very, very cranky. But it seems to be the case with Twitch. I don't know why people like Twitch. Is it supposed to work fine most of the time? But I suppose stream it. What's it probably doing is trying to block me from enjoying my experience. Maybe it's easier if I do it this way of streaming it through this one. 1 second, I've opened up another window. Maybe that's the problem. And they're not. That's the other problem as well. It's not very good at adapting, to what's going on around it. Screen share window, and seems this one. Yeah, that's better. And maybe change that around a wee bit. Yeah, maybe that's better. Is that better? Yeah, it looks better. And anything else I need to do with that one? We'll see if that's cranky as well. The only problem is I don't think I can hear it. I think that's the only problem. Every now and then you can hear it. King John time in Ireland, he tried to build 2 castles in Fermoy, but Don Moore, Maguire, and other Gaelic lords had them destroyed. The Maguires were in with the O'Neills at that point, weren't they? With Aid the Second, Aid the Second, the Fact O'Neill. Great man, absolutely fantastic fella. Aid at that point was more of a king of the Gael than Cottle, the Red Hand, O'Connor was at that point, I think Aid the Second, the Fat O'Neill, he definitely dominated. If it wasn't for the battle he lost against William, who was it? William de Burgh. He definitely would have been able to fly in and take Ireland very quickly. Especially how a few years earlier, about 5 years earlier, Conor O'Connor was able to do the massacre of Killaloe against the Butlers and then go over and plunder and attack a good chunk of the southern part of Munster. So since Conor O'Connor was able to do that, and O'Neill had a far bigger force than Conor O'Connor had, quite confident if he had beaten William de Burgh, he could have easily pushed off and become King of Ireland, especially with the chaos that was happening with King John in England, especially going into the First Barron War. The only problem, the biggest thorn in his side was obviously William de Burgh, especially how they just finished and we're going to go into another series of wars against each other, That's how I would consider this map I have, Kevin. Yeah. I have to get a good few map of clans as well. I normally just take them offline and I'm flying. Kevin, what do you think of Mihal's map? Just here now. Did I miss Bannerlord? I'm trying to fix everything there. Tip it away, do you know yourself, like? And it's not a bloody well need. Talking to lads there about O'Neill and King John in Ireland and stuff. I did a class this morning on it, which is still nice and fresh up on Patreon. If anyone's curious, give me money. And what else do I bloody well need to do? Lads, you're making me do work. And I can't hear the blasted sound. What happened to the sound to this? Is there any sound to that? I sure didn't stop. 1 second. That could be the problem there. Is the sound button's turned off. Let's see if the sound button's flying again. Oh yeah, there it's flying again. But I think she's still cranky-ish. Yeah, I hate night attacks. Oh, yeah. Why do they do night attacks and you can't even bloody see it on the other screen? These games, they never think about making money, do they? Let's see how this night attack works anyway. At this time, oh, you haven't seen Mihal's maps. I'll have Mihal's maps up and going again on next Saturday anyway. Right, archery. You guys are just assuming there I'm going to be fighting this guy. Although you can't see squat. Are they? Where do I run around? Oh yeah, there we go. Oh, so I press triangle in and out. Oh, wait, my character's dead on the floor. I'm having a look there. Reload that up so you can see my. Am I dead? Oh, bloody hell. At the time from I was ruled. 1252. But that's in line with the Brian O'Neill's revolt in the Tamad Wars when Brian O'Neill was trying to become King of Ireland. That's bang on 1252. But they were acting independently. That's interesting enough. Why is she being cranky again? She's very cranky this morning. Oh, I don't even know what the crack is there. 1 second. Oh, yeah. There's your problem there. Doing that kind of cranky thing. Then she got small screen on that side. But I can see her comments. That's the main thing. And what's it called? Yeah, the Brian O'Neill's revolt in the Tamad Wars. Jeez, what a fucking time to be alive. One of my favorite campaigns of all time. It just really annoys me that Brian O'Neill was killed in the Battle of Downpatrick, you know? God bless Ireland and its saviors. God bless Ireland and them all. It also has the dates. God bless Ireland and her saviors. I don't think I've seen that map. Anyway, let's just try again. Let's try again. So, it's another one of them bloody night things. I sure didn't stop working for some reason. And now she's getting cranky again. Oh, she's working fine now. But should this time to give my character full health. Oh my god. Yeah. Oh well, screen now. 1 second. That's because the lighting is terrible. Yeah, it's believe it or not, you're supposed to see a little dot in the middle of the screen, which is my flame, which is on my boat. My character's in a boat now sailing. Can you hear? Can you hear him sailing? Can you? I'm getting closer to the boat now. There we go. I think I crashed into it a wee bit. Okay, that's much better. I get my Celtic lads to start fighting these pirates. You should be able to see them hacking each other up now. Go on, hold that shield wall now and start hacking away, boys. Go on. Chop him up, boys. Chop him up. Oh, he's just a friend, is he? I don't know. I can't even tell who's friend or foe, but you don't look like. Oh, you are. Up over here. He's finishing him up there. Okay. That's one Sea Hound defeated, but the others can't be too far away. We've captured a second ship, though it's a whatever the hell a sure is. It should be quick and nimble. How about you cross over and take the helm? I'll keep command of the old key. I'll do that. Right. So you can. Okay. Right. When the ship. Okay. I don't know what I'm doing with the buttons, by the way. I apologize. Okay. I have to go fire it. 1 second. Do you have an engage? I suppose engage will do it. Right. You only hear me. I'll fix the sound in a bit. 1 second. I'll get into a boat battle first, and I'll fix the sound. Bum 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 bum. There we go. Come on. And obviously my weapon is away, isn't it? So we'll take this out. Get this weapon out and start hacking away. I want to ask why that guy's done that. There. He's dead now anyway. You think he would engage me? It was kind of strange. Flanked around now and just smashing these guys at the side. Right. Right. I'm new to this, my lord. I'm just a farmer who fell on hard times. 1 second. What I'll do now is this has been cranky on my side as well. God, she's been very cranky. Right. No, what I should do is just delete this because it's better just to delete everything. I got a new laptop. My eyes are watering trying to read the comments. I just wouldn't be asked reading comments there, Jim. It's only a load of shite anyway. Okay. I see the problem. I should be able to hear better now. Or just, be typical. Although you pay money for this, Philip, we're chucking this into the bin. And no, it's been cranky. What I normally do is I just close because she is very cranky that way. If she doesn't work this time, Jim, then I'll just do something else. No, she's been cranky. Right. Wonderful. How are you keeping? Are you American, are you? Jim, we have an American there. But I have just moved to the beautiful country just a couple of weeks ago. Ah, nice to hear. Yeah, I'll try that one more time and then I'll just scrap it. No, she's gonna be a pain. Okay, we'll scrap that for today. Restream, useless. If you could buy any other platform, do not purchase Restream. Load of shite. It's like a most things. What you want to do is get stuff from 2015. Anything to do with 2015, brilliant technology. Any of this new stuff, OBS, brilliant. Get OBS. It's free as well. If you look at this Restream, has features that makes life easier, but so cranky. I wouldn't advise getting Restream. I'm going to do a review after this. The staff are really rude. Other people say they have a great time with the staff. I think the staff are useless, to be honest with you, especially for the type of money that I'm paying for it. And, here we go as well, acting up as well. I'm literally just pressing that button. I'm paying for this button to work. If I was doing this through OBS, wouldn't have the same problems that I'm having right now. So, yeah, Restream can't give negative views enough. Absolute load of garbage. We'll sack that now for now anyway. And we'll just have an old chat. And what I'll do from now on is not use. If we're going to do anything like this, I'll probably use OBS next time. Restream is grand. Like, look at this. I can't even put it back to its default. Would you believe it? That's how bad and terrible this thing is. Absolute. I'm going to write them a complaint after this because this is absolutely terrible for the money I'm putting into this. And I can't even put a default bloody thing is. You know what I mean? Can I put it like that? No, I can't. I have to now do something with this, and I cannot have a default thing anymore. Complete garbage, I watched a great movie called Molly Maguire. Has an Irish actor. Peter O'Toole is brilliant, though. And Richard Harrison, yeah. Two magnificent actors, definitely brilliant for sure. What was it called? Peter O'Toole. Definitely one of the greatest Irish actors of all time. Without a shadow of a doubt. And the great thing about Peter O'Toole, so old-fashioned. Very old-fashioned fella. As in, what I mean by that, very hands-on. What's crazy about him is the fact that he had absolutely no problems adapting to what was in front of him. If he needed to be in the theater, he was there instantly. And if he needed to be suddenly in a movie, he was there. Click the fingers, he was there. He was so, Jim, you were supposed to put on the old act for a good bit. But what was they called again? If he needed to be at a movie set, he was on a movie set, If he needed to be over I might as well turn this off now because it's useless to me. We'll go back to that later. And what I'll do is I just won't use the thing for that again because that's a heap of shit. And I'll make a complaint to them. And we'll see if we can do anything from there. I think that's literally other channels trying to block everything, and it being a complete and utter nuisance. And what else I have? What I'll do now is I'll chuck something inside there. Keep this entertaining for the time being. A Man from the Isles. Do you know this is what most likely the original Gallo glass probably looked like? Here we go. That's most likely what an original Gallo glass would have looked like, A Man from the Isles. So when looking at the Gallo glass, many people make the mistake of assuming the Gallo glass look more like. See how cranky this is. Images. Yeah, people assume Gallo glasses would have been more like, if you look at, yeah, I have actually a perfect one. If you look at Dave Swift's work here, this is sort of what people assume a Gallo glass would look like. And a Gallo glass didn't look like that. A Gallo glass being a Gaelic mercenary soldier, okay? Or Celtic mercenary soldier, as pop historians would refer to, right? That's what people assume they would look like. There's other images here as well I can easily chuck in there. That's not the case at all, do you know? Let me see if I have other images I can show you guys. Obviously, most famous image of all of a Gallo glass. You can't really beat this image. This is the image of what a Gallo glass soldier looked like. And that's the assumption of what a Gallo glass warrior looked like. But what you're looking at here is not just a German interpretation of what a Gallo glass looked like during the Renaissance of the early 16th century, but you're also looking at a warrior who is a part of a Gaelic mercenary company, extremely well organized, very battle hardened. And on top of that, again, is part of the late medieval period where Gaelic mercenary companies or mercenary companies as a whole was normal. Like this guy is a part of a Gaelic mercenary company. Compared to the earlier Gallo glass of the 14th or 13th century, those Gallo glass would have looked more like this that you see in effigies on the Isle of Iona, would give off more of this. There's plenty of effigies as well. I might as well just grab a few there. The Maguire defeated the O'Donnells in 1242, their Power region. The Gallo glass warrior in the pick has Clan Donald, chest of shield. Yeah, but that's where they. But at that point, the Gallo glass, you could see how they're evolving from the original Gaul Gael, and that this is where this whole conspiracy thing comes in. That Gallo glass aren't just Scandinavian or Viking mercenaries or Scottish mercenaries. It's when you look at the facts here, it's much more complicated, you know, because these people are war bands that would have originally been part of the clans or king groups between Scotland and Ireland, and because of the harsh weather and elements that they went through, became very fierce warriors, you know, for the many of these areas and stuff. Those areas were producing a lot of very, very strong warriors between Scotland and Ireland. And it is true that a lot of them are of Norwegian DNA, but the McSweeneys were very, you know, Gaelic. I wouldn't say Scottish because of the fact that they went against the Scottish monarchy and they didn't want to be a part of the establishment that defined people as Scottish. Leading up to the Scottish War of Independence is when they define what is Scottish. And at the time, what it was to be Scottish was to be loyal to the Scottish king. And the McSweeneys didn't want to be a part of that definition of what it was to be Scottish. Clan MacDonald were the biggest Norse Gael clan. They were the clan of the Isles until 1260, then becoming Lord of the Isles until 1480. Yeah, Clan MacDonald, another brilliant clan that was producing a lot of Gaelic mercenaries, well, Norse Gaelic mercenaries from the Donald perspective, for not just Ireland, but for Scotland as well, you know. Absolutely brilliant. Let me have a quick gander over there and what was it? Effigies of Iona. Just put that into, quickly put that into, yeah, you see straight away, I had this before, but it gives you a better idea. And I have more as well of the Gallo glass under the O'Connors that can give you a better view. But if you look at the effigies of Iona, there we go. And then if I zoom down, I still have the thing from William Marshall this morning. It's where I should actually, I could chuck that in for next week maybe, or the week after. But give us a second there. I actually, here's a very good one of Gallo glass as well. Just the period that we were just talking about, Dark Caveman of 1256. These drawings are based on, in the background there, you can see the marge lines between, who was it the McSweeney's and the O'Connors, I think. There's a marge lines between the two, which brings in a whole load of Gallo glass into that area. Very interesting one for sure. But yeah, these Gallo glass are based off the later effigies as we go into Brian O'Neill's revolt and the Tomad Wars around 1256 to 1260 is when Brian O'Neill has his revolt. And those Tomad Wars then blur into the Scottish War of Independence. And I did have a quite good effigy there as well. The one from Iona, 13th century is where I saved it. And let me grab another one there. Images. I have that picture there. Give us a second. I have a lot of really great pictures, actually. Yeah, that's the one I was after. I have another one as well of if you want to brand them as Hiberno Norman. This is the effigies from Iona, and it gives you a very good idea of what the Gallo glass. There we go. What the Gallo glass looked like, just as they're arriving into Ireland, and what the armor and stuff is like. Right. So if you check that out for a wee bit, and then we have effigies at O'Connor's burial. I think that might bring it up. No, that's the wrong one. Phelim O'Connor is the one I need, so I'll just type it in actually. Yeah, there we go. Bang on. Yeah, we have later Gallo glass, and you can see straight away from the get-go the evolution from this into, if we look at this one here, we quickly scan down through it and grab that photo. There we Actually, this is an even better one. I found an even better one actually in my folder. There we go. You can see that evolution, look. From this one into that one. This one here, he's wearing a Gammonson jacket. So that's not riveted mail. So this one here, what's he got on? Oh, he's got Gammonson as well. Yeah, but he's got the, what's it called? Mail at the top. But you can see that evolution there. But in other ones, you can see, I've got one here. Just give us a second there. I'll jump back into the comment section. But you can see, if you jump over here, you can see, where is it? There we go. You can see riveted mail. I'm sure I'm probably wrong now. Yeah, there we go. So you can see the riveted mail on top. And then under that, then you could see the Gammonson, you know. Absolutely fascinating stuff. One thing to note that a lot of people find very fascinating is the helmets. And compared to, if I have, let me see if I can find, yeah, I could easily find it. Give us a second there. If we look at the helmets that first come in around 1169, if I could find an example, I do have the later helmets that come in during the period of King John in Ireland. Like here's a, actually, I've got you see, I did my presentation on King John this morning. So I have a lot of helmets on King John. But look, here's another very good one. This one comes from the Isles as well. This is much, much more earlier, though. This is around the 11th century. And this is a Ridra. In Ireland, they were referred to as an Irish knight. And that comes from the chess piece that's in the Isles between Norway and Ireland. But it's interesting because the word Ridra is very much a Norwegian influence. So you can see that Norwegian influence coming in there. And then obviously with the description that we get from the Vision of Tundal, it is very exciting stuff for sure. What else do we have here? This is from, I'm just chucking stuff out there. Oh yeah. This also gives you some very, very good idea of the Ridra as well, the knights. So this is Norway, but you can see that influence coming down and into Ireland while the trade that was coming in. Do you know? The problem with these knights, they just, when it comes down to cavalry charges, they just can't beat the Norway cavalry charges, the cavalry charges that are coming from Normandy with the Normans into England and then into Ireland by 1169. The Irish just can't beat that. But you can see his helmet there of the time, and you can see how that evolves into the much more pointier helmets. A lot of people do highlight how pointy that one is. Look how pointy that one is. The Irish just get more pointier until, like, and it's so funny because you can see that evolving into the much more later Gallo glass, going into the Wars of the Roses. Let me see if I can find. I know for a fact I could find. All right. The Loch Henny helmet. I just saved it there, and I can chuck it up there. The Loch Henny helmet. But you can see how the Loch Henny helmet has evolved from the earlier helmets that were evolving. There's another example of the helmet of this period, like, do you know? Obviously, that's more of a Norman helmet, but you can see how it's evolving in many ways, do you know? I'm just kind of flying around, chucking photos up. Didn't really plan to do this morning because I was planning on doing the Let's Play, but you know, it is what it is. I can easily talk about anything, to be honest with you. Got some wonderful photos in here, and I'm not sure if I should chuck them up and start waffling. Yeah, the Loch Henny helmet is this one. Obviously, one of the most famous of the Gallo glass helmets because it's so unique to Ireland at the time. So this would have been worn during the period of the Wars of the Roses in the 15th century, not in the 13th century. But the reason why I put it up is because you can see the evolution. If we look at the helmets here, we can see how that evolved eventually into the Loch Henny helmet. What's that blade he's carrying? It looks kind of like a large axe called. Let me have a look. Oh, you're talking about this one? Oh, God, what is it specifically called? This one's more of a theory right now, to be honest with you. We actually haven't found this sort of axe yet. Let me see if I can give it. Yeah, there we go. We actually haven't found this one, so it's always a speculation if they were using this in the 13th century. What is the name of it? It does come out, you know, I cannot remember. It's definitely in Scotland by the time you got up to the William Knight and Jacobite Wars. But we haven't found, as of yet, we haven't found this find in Scotland or Ireland in the 13th century yet. But it's always speculated, and a lot of people do have a theory that it was in Scotland and Ireland before the 16th century. So in 16th century, we have this weapon in Scotland, but a lot of people can make a good argument that that came in from Eastern Europe. We have plenty of finds of this in Eastern Europe, but we don't have any finds of it in Scotland and Ireland. But some people speculate that that weapon there that you can see in that photo is in Scotland in the 13th century. It's interesting as well because if you read the Icelandic sagas with the Hiberno-Scandinavians and the Norse sagas, in particular the Icelandic sagas to do with Njal saga, describes pole arms like that in it. So it's easy to debate if that weapon is there or not, to be honest with you, Jim. Give us a second there. I'll have a quick search to see if I can remember the name of it. 16th century Scottish axe. See if I can find it. Oh yeah, Lochburr axe. Aye. Don't know how good this photo is, but this is how it looks during. I'm going to chuck it up there, and this is how it looks in the 16th century, just before the likes of the Scottish War of Independence and stuff. I'll quickly grab that and just put it up. If I can find the photo now. But the Lochburr axe. There we go. So as of right now, although it is in Eastern Europe, we don't have any finds of this or any archaeological finds of this in Scotland or Ireland right now. But a lot of people do believe that this was in Scotland and Ireland in the 13th century, as depicted here. Okay. But we do not have any finds of this so far that I am aware of. Okay. Great weapon. Very, very, very handy for cutting through riveted mail, which is a huge problem in Ireland in the 13th century. So to be honest with you, Jim, speculating wise, it would make sense for them to use it in Ireland in the 13th century against English mail, Hiberno-Norman mail, even Irish mail. You know, we have effigies of the Irish using Hiberno-Norman armor by the time of, even before 1220. You know, even before that, King John in Ireland, the Irish are fully updated when it comes down to weapons. They're not. There's all this stupid speculation that the Irish have fallen behind, and yet effigies in Ireland, and the fact that we have so many Hiberno-Normans joining the ranks of the Irish. The Irish are definitely updated knight-wise. There we go. So these are the effigies popping up in Ireland in the 13th century, and that's a full-on knight there. You can see his kite shield. Well, it's in between the kite shield. You can see it evolving between the kite shield and the heater shield. Then we see his riveted mail on the outside of it, and you can see he's got no helmet there, but a very popular helmet going into the fighting to do with King John in Ireland is this helmet here. Can't recall the name of it, actually, funny enough. I absolutely love it, to be honest with you. It's an absolutely beautiful helmet. Absolutely gorgeous. I'll get the spelling for it there, Jim. Yeah, it first recorded in 1501. That's the, what was it called? I may as well chuck all that now since that's no good. And I'll pop over here. But, yeah, there's the spelling for it there, Jim. The Lochburr axe. That's how I'm pronouncing it anyway. And where else was I? The Norse who arrived in Ireland and the Western Isles of Scotland became heavily Gaelicized by the mid. Yeah, 100% agree with you. Under Broder MacEmer and was Norse Gael. He was fostered into the Emers. He was the son of Ivor the Bonus, and he was fostered into the Eamers very young, and so was a large part of Ivor the Boneless's family. Ivor the Boneless was very close. It was very, 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 very close with the men of Ulster. The men of Leinster. So brother Mac Eamer, 100%. When people speculate and refer to him as like Norwegian or something, no way. He was too close to the likes of Flann Shinna, and I think it was always Ivor the Bonus's plan was to Gaelicize the family into the politics of Ireland, and perhaps even later on usurp the Eamers. They were definitely because they were in Irish politics, they were playing the Game of Thrones in Ireland. And then they were raising that large military force in Dublin and invading England. In the annals of Ulster, as we go into the later fighting around, I think 936, I'm sure, if you look into the annals of Ulster there, it tells you straight up that they're raising forces of 7,000 to invade England. Dublin does not have the levies to raise a military force, and they had just been sacked and subjugated by Donal Eamer. Sorry, Donal Nail. So how the hell were they supposed to be invading England if they had already just been sacked and beaten by the Nails, and they're giving tribute to the Nails? It was definitely the Nails who were supporting that, because not only is it the fact that the men of Dublin normally can only raise a force of about 120, most of the time, if they want to go higher than that, they basically hire in mercenaries from the Isles. But 7,000, the only people able to raise a force of 7,000 like that in an instant by a click of a fingers like that is the Nails. So I believe that a large amount of his force there going into that invasion with the Nails, But that's just my speculation. I'm very glad to be amongst men who have so much knowledge. Jim, you're not half silly yourself, to be honest with you. Especially with your recent talking about the White Witch and stuff. There's a lot of stuff in there, information you have that I don't have, especially when it comes down to the White Witch and stuff. I covered a bit of the White Witch when I was in University College of Cork, when it came down to the folklore, But I need to do more research into that, because it is a hard, the white women of Ireland, the White Witch, were a huge part of Irish clan society. To be able to go into the forest line, the borders between the clans, and to be able to see someone who specializes in the herbalist side of things is a huge part of clan society, and definitely something that I need to do further research into, to be quite honest with you, Jim. So it's always nice for you to be there to give that sort of research. In Irish makes a V, Emer and Ivor sound the same, just spelled in different languages. Yeah, I always kind of just go off, where did I get my pronunciation from when it comes down to the Emer? I think I got it from Claire Downham, to be honest with you, my pronunciation and stuff. When it comes down to her Irish and stuff, I won't. She's from University of Liverpool. And yeah, she's from the Liverpool region. Very, 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 very switched on when it comes down to the history, like myself, the history side of things, when it comes down to the Hiberno Scandinavians. Most of the time, I fully agree with what she's saying. I think there was only one time when it comes down to Cork that I didn't agree with what she was saying, to be honest with you. And I know someone else who specializes in the Hiberno Scandinavian to do with Cork. I can't remember her name. This is a few years back. I was watching a live stream amongst them, and the person who specialized in the Hiberno Scandinavian to do with Cork, she was disagreeing with Claire. And I definitely didn't agree with what Claire was saying. And I can't even remember what it was, to be honest with you. But yeah, I think there's my main point being is that what was it called? That I just kind of disagreed with what she was saying. Looks like a lion. Which one looks like a lion? Are you talking about this lad? Of the old Isles, the Loch Henny helmet is definitely my favorite. We'll chuck that on in there. There we go. He's using a bra as an extra protection. Do you think that one? Check that back up there. Yeah, I definitely would have to see that martial art in action for sure. Like, sort of a halberd. Yeah, it is, isn't it? My assumption is that it's definitely because in the Null Saga, which although is set in the 11th century, is written in the 13th century, from my understanding. So it describes skirmishes and weapons from the 13th century, not from the 11th century. So the information and history, actual like the people who are related to people and the what happened on the battlefield on the day of the Battle of Clontarf and stuff in the 11th century in 1014. That's all sound, in my opinion. But when it comes down to skirmishes, when it comes down to battles, any of that sort, and even what people are dressing and wearing, it's definitely the 13th century. There is no Niall, the writers anyway of the Nile Saga, had no understanding of how people dressed and how skirmishes and battles were done in the 11th century compared to the 13th century. I'm unaware of that spelling. I'll have to get back to you with that one. They'll probably have a bunch of crude designs or something like that. It was me just answering things from before. Norse Gaels were either Gael or Norse. Something new, hybrid. They speak Gaelic and dressed in Gaels, but lived as Norse in urban areas. Dublin. That's an interesting topic when it comes down to this sort of stuff, as I was pointing out before. Let me see if I can find a map of Dublin there for you guys, because that's definitely an interesting topic for sure. Let me see if I can find a map of Dublin. Of course, it doesn't help that I've got this set to, let me see. Okay, give us a second there. I'll get a map of Dublin because I have a point to prove here. Dublin, and it kind of backs up what you're saying there, Caveman. There we go. Yeah, that's the exact map I was after, actually. Oh no, Neil, not like it. He was giving out about the map. I saved the wrong one, but it doesn't matter. I'll shove it into this one. There we go. What was it? Oh no, Neil was giving out about the map of Dublin, and I was looking at it, and I couldn't see anything wrong with it. The map of Dublin, to be honest with you, he was like saying it needs to be smaller. Not this one, but the other one I had up the other day. I was looking at it, and I didn't see anything wrong with it. Not the view I'm looking for. There we go. And how do I get myself back up again? Yeah, that's better. And then what I'll do is this graphics is annoying me because I need to bring in customers. See if this is better. Yeah, that's much better. And then I'll chuck in the chat again. Right. Dublin, I think, is quite interesting because the foundation of it is designed like a monastic settlement. And what I mean by that is the fact that in the center, we have a church. We have Christchurch. Christchurch is in the center of it. And then around it, obviously, you have all the walls, exactly like an Irish monastic settlement. not like what was it, a Norwegian settlement. The Norwegians don't make their ports like this, you know? And this is meant to be a Norwegian settlement in Ireland. A lot of people, historians, academics, will tell you that Ivor the Boneless came in, invaded into um, Dublin, and then constructed a Norwegian settlement. And yet the facts do not show this. This, although, don't get me wrong, has Norwegian houses. There's Norwegian houses in there. Christchurch itself maybe was in a Norwegian style church, but doubtful because the Norwegians weren't building churches at the time. The Irish were building churches. They were building Christchurch, for example, in the centre of that. No, I joke. But you have, like, it's very, very doubtful that that's a Norwegian church in the centre. That most likely is an Irish church. The other buildings around it, including the Great Hall, most likely in a Norwegian style, and the houses that people are living in, Norwegian style, which makes sense because it's great for urban style. If you're building a bunch of roundhouses, there's not going to be much room inside there. So it makes sense that so many Norwegian houses are being built inside there. Then we have a wall around it. And the wall at first looks to be the foundation of it, of an Irish style. But then as we approach into 940, and we're bringing back new techniques of wall building for defense. Those defensive wall building that we see around the settlement of Dublin are a York style, specifically the style that we see in York, when it comes down to the defenses of the wall and the style of wall building that's there. So we see these techniques being brought over with the Ustamen Anglo-Saxon wars. They're kicking off from around 920 to around 950, 960. We can see that technology and defenses being brought over and back to Dublin. Pretty exciting stuff, like. But it shows that Hiberno-Scandinavian mix that's going on there. That's much more complicated than a bunch of Vikings going in there, building their settlement and stealing the women. And the women become this fetish that a lot of historians and YouTubers talk about online. Often what you see is this perversion, these YouTubers licking their teeth, and how the big, strong, big sticked Norwegians come in and steal the Irish women and then do what they want. That's often what you see on YouTube and stuff. And yet, that's not what the facts are showing. The facts are showing a much more complicated reality. Claire Downham, she is absolutely amazing. For anybody who doesn't know about Claire Downham's work, Claire Downham, Vikings of Britain and Ireland. I think it's the name of the book. Yeah, I have it here. Viking Kings of Britain and Ireland. I'll chuck that in there. But yeah, a lot of the stuff that I'm talking about right now would come from Claire Downham. Hopefully that it does. Hopefully it does. Images. Yeah, there's Claire Downham's work. The Ridera. That was a profile picture, kind of being goldish color. I think James said Ridera looked like a lion. It's going. So most likely the Ridera. Yeah, this one here. You can see that with the Lewis chess pieces, which shows the trade going between Norway to Ireland and in between the Isles as well. This was, I think, a full set was found in the Isles just between Scotland and Ireland. But if you look at the likes of Tunzel's vision and stuff, it fits in there. And also, this is what the Norwegians were like at the time. The only problem we're facing, really, is against Norman cavalry. Norman cavalry is just too good. They're just too good at it. But French cavalry of that whole period is just so dominant, like. Oh, nice. Henry I married Jesus Christ, that's a pretty good lineage there. Like, bam, bam, bam. Right. So my drink is like, it is grand. What I'll do next time actually is I will actually pop over and see if I can just stream the PlayStation, because you can stream on this, so I can't understand why you can't just restream from the PlayStation to this. And I think that would be a billion times better to do it that way instead of going through Twitch, because Twitch is just way too cranky. The Irish washed just as much as the Scandinavians and the Irish abbots. Yeah, we have, if you look at the 6th century, there's plenty of stuff with the Irish, because they also believed in having what are they called again? Going into a room, a roundhouse, and putting a bunch of rocks in it, and then cooking inside there for a wee bit to get the sweat out. They believed in that, the old sauna, as they call it, and then afterwards jumping into a tub and washing themselves. And they also had soaps and stuff allegedly that came in with the trade with the Scandinavians. So around the 6th century, they're having saunas and cold dips that they believed was cleansing themselves. And then with the introduction of the Scandinavians, what happened then is that they started bringing more soap in, so they started becoming very, very clean, from my understanding. Yeah, those chess pieces are absolutely spectacular, to be honest with you, Kevin. Is absolutely magnificent stuff. Like, let me have a look. What do I have around me? Oh, I just need to stretch for a wee bit as well. Right, so I'm gonna do this because I find this one does my back for a wee bit. If I do this exercises and put my hands straight and then just put it behind me, and then I've got another one as well, where I put my hands on the table. You see there. Oh. Put my hands on the table and then I just put my head. It's grand after a good few hours of wrecking up the back. Do all those stretches and stuff. You're supposed to do all those stretches once every hour, but I always forget about it. Okay. The Lewis chess pieces. Let me have a look. Lewis chess pieces. There we go. And let's see what's the best photo. I absolutely love the Lewis chess pieces, to be honest with you. Like, I don't know how this photo is going to turn out. Images, and there we go. There we go. Absolutely gorgeous. They found a whole set of them on the Lewis Island. The Irish monk haircut was probably during the 9th century with the main Roman church. If you ever watched Vikings in season, Bjorn's haircut is an Irish monk's. Yeah, I've seen that one, all right. There's also another one as well. Just a second, I go. We also have the Norman haircut as well. But the problem with that one, Caveman, is they're still arguing, debating what the story is with the haircuts, because there's even recently people are debating if every monastic settlement had their own interpretation of what the haircut should be. But there is reforms of the church happening in Ireland. And on top of that as well, Rome is so fucking ignorant when it comes down to having a conversation, anything, because it's always what Alexandria said. Because obviously the Egyptians are much more intelligent than the Irish. And this is the interpretation that the papacy pushes ahead with. So anytime the Irish say something and Egypt says, Alexandria says is A, B, and C, clearly the Egyptians are much more smarter. And you see that with the Germans as well. The Germans, at one stage, this is the insanity of it. The Germans, was it around the 7th century or something, argued that the world is flat. And believe it or not, the papacy actually supports it. So a lot of the times when people look at the world is flat thing, they see that the Roman Church knows the world is round. But there was actually an argument early on where Germany says the world is flat. The Irish, by default, disagree because this is just full on ignorance. But the Irish have examples to prove that the world is round, that they got not just from the Romans, but also from the study of ships dipping. And they apply that to the papacy. They say that to the papacy. And the papacy tells them to shut up or they excommunicate them. That's how bad it is, that everything that the Irish do is just ignorant and stupid, you know. And you see why the Irish have to be the way they are, conniving and manipulative when it comes down to winning an argument, because by default, even today, the Irish are viewed as drunken, stupid people, you know. That's why you always need to be, from an Irish perspective, manipulating, gaslighting, because if you were to make a straight up argument when you go into a conversation as an Irish person with a funny leprechaun accent, you're taken as a fool. You need to go in there, understand who you're talking to, and manipulate them into the right spot. You know, I found something that said that the Irish did a sign of the cross, first, third, and fourth fingers. Okay, so that would be. Which way are you talking about? From left to right or right to left? So I'm assuming it's this one, this one. Yeah, that makes sense actually. Maybe that one or this one, the other way around, which also makes sense. Interesting that some of the Scottish dancing do that with their hands. Ah, Scottish dancing. Bum, bum, bum. Oh, yeah, I see that straight away. They do it for all of their ones. I tried to chuck that in there as well. And if I then go over here, images, bomb, bomb, bomb. Tom, middle, and ring. Oh, that's interesting. Oh yeah, I see that. Interesting. Fascinating. I love. You can't beat traditional Celtic dances, can you? Huh? Absolutely gorgeous stuff. Da, 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 let me see. I want to look at that old Cayley dance. Scottish. A second, I'll cheat here and just say Scottish traditional dancing. Yeah, this is the kind of one I want to look up. But no, she's still cranky. Okay. You pay money for what? What do you pay money for? Huh? It's not to work. That's what. Yeah, I'd have to complain about that because that's disgraceful. I paid money for that. But yeah, you can just imagine them dancing there. That's what I paid freaking money for. Was it 40 quid for not to work? Lovely. Interesting as some of the Scottish dancing did that. I was thinking my next tattoo would be of St. Peter's Cross. Let me have an old look at St. Peter's Cross. Bum, 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 bum. St. Peter's. That's the upside one down, isn't it? St. Peter's Cross. It's funny how it's always put in with the old devil symbol. How do people mostly get that as a tattoo? straight away. It's one of the main things people are looking for as well. St. Peter's Cross. Why do people look at it from a demonic perspective? It's kind of funny, isn't it? When it should be a symbol to be even more devout, because it represents somebody that's not good enough for Jesus's presence, Black metal bands love to use that. Yeah, I don't know. To me, it symbolizes somebody who's even more dedicated to Jesus Christ. Speaking of tattoos, what's the Dalkash banner? Ooh. It's the sword. Swords are very, very popular in the 9th century. I'll have to type this in. Yeah. So I don't think it would have looked exactly like this, to be honest with you. Obviously, you're looking at a much more earlier version of it, which is, if I can get it now. That's how it's depicted today. But to be honest with you, Jim, obviously it would be way more early medieval. More like an early medieval banner. It's very late medievalish. And it's probably even a modern interpretation, perhaps. But what it is, so maybe actually sword banner? If you type in Viking sword banner, maybe Viking sword banner. No, because it's mostly late medieval depictions. Maybe I would just type in Viking sword. Do you know most Viking swords are actually Frankish swords? They are not Viking swords. But let's type in that one and see what we get. Not the greatest. Maybe actually, I disagree with that one massively. Actually, I'm trying to find a good Viking sword. To be honest with you, we'll go with this one for the time being. Clontarf sword. Do you know what? Clontarf sword. Of course, didn't recognize that one at all. It actually, to be honest with you, it did spell out Clontarf there, but I think it must have thought it wasn't the word. There we go. There, so that's the handle of it. And you could probably just imagine what the rest of the sword looks like, actually. Yeah, actually, this... there we go. That's perfect. So actually, it would be more in line with, if you just give me a second there. Maybe just this one. Yeah, there we go. So you can actually just imagine that. That would be more in line of what the Dalkash banner would be. Just obviously the other way around. And I think even the red there kind of fits in what kind of color scheme the banner would have been. So it's a red, it's described as a red banner with a sword, and perhaps somebody having the sword. But the reason why it's a sword is because swords get very, very, very popular in the 9th century. So we have a load of descriptions of war bands going around with banners of swords, and they're meant to be famous swords. So not only would they have been created by a famous smith, but then the story has certain legends around them, right? So to highlight that this is the war band to a famous warrior or a famous warlord who normally has a famous sword behind them, they would have the banner of that sword. Even in Ireland, there's famous war bands, Viking war bands, kicking around the island who are going around with a famous sword. And so to highlight that, they would have the banner of the sword to highlight that this is that warband. And so I am assuming, because we have Viking warbands in Ireland going around with banners of swords in the 9th century, I'm assuming that's how the Dalcash got their banner as well, in my assumption. Can I put myself back in? There I can. What did Brian's army use sword-wise? The Clontarf sword has been found. I had it there just for a second. But they use the same swords that you see with the Hiberno-Scandinavians. I have the Clontarf sword here, actually. Like, he actually got me. Maybe I didn't. I don't think I saved it properly. There we go. Saved perfectly. So the Clontarf sword is a very good example of Hiberno-Scandinavian design going into the Battle of Clontarf. So there's the handle right there. There we go. So there's the Clontarf sword there, and it's in the style of the Hiberno-Scandinavians going into the Battle of Clontarf. Apparently, the upside down cross only started to be thought of as evil because of demonic forces turning it upside down in movies. 1964. That makes perfect sense. Everything in 1960s, a lot of stuff was rewritten by Hollywood, wasn't it? But then I can't talk about that, actually. I'm not allowed to, especially politics wise. So we'll have to skip that conversation or I'll get into lots of trouble. Give me a second there and I will look that one up. The Kilmainham Viking sword. A few of the lads that were in with Caveman has that sword as well, don't they? Who's notorious for that sword right now? Dun, dun, dun. Yeah. Is that actually? It's interesting, isn't it? Looking at the pommel of it there. Oh, that's my problem. Just give us a second there. I have actually seen that sword a good few times. The Kilmainham. I have the original find here as well. One section, actually. Because that's actually on Patrick Wallace's cover. Patrick Wallace who was the archaeologist of Dublin. Well, Dublin Viking. And he often uses this as a cover for most of his photos. And so does John Sheehan. Yeah. Or is that meant to be? Was categorized here as. No, that's actually the wrong one. That's the Bilderin. How do I pronounce that again? But Bilderin sword. I have seen this one a good few times. That's not the one you're talking about, though. Or is that in the same category? What I need to do is pick up Patrick Wallace's book. Patrick Wallace has all this in the right category. Wallace. Viking, Dublin book. I have this book up at home in Ireland, for sure. Or am I not in Ireland right now? Yeah, Patrick Wallace covers all that in his book. This one here. Viking Dublin, a wood key excavation by Patrick F. Wallace. If you're into living history, it's definitely a book to get, but it's quite expensive. I have the book, and it's a complete and utter goldmine. Kinsale sword. I want to have a quick gawk at the Kinsale sword. Kinsale sword. don't know if that's the sword or not. I think the problem is online, everything's just a jumbled mess. Oh, I was thinking that. Give us a second there. Do, do, do. Yeah. Oh, that is the Kinsale sword. That is interesting. Category is an Anglo Irish sword. Interesting. We'll go for this one. There we go. The Kinsale sword. Fascinating stuff. Category is an Anglo Irish sword. The likes of, I'm assuming it's Fitzgerald's sword. What's the date of it, though? Uh, da, 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 da. Mixture of Highland, Scotland, and Ireland. They're dated to late 15th, early 16th century. That is very interesting and appears formally gallow glass. Here's an effigies. So we have this in effigies as well. MacGillypatrick, Knight of Kilkenny, confirms this. And type C's overlap, type 3. So when they say, you see, this is the funny thing as well, is how on the southeast of the island of Ireland, we can really just category everybody under Anglo-Irish. Like the O'Briens, the MacGillypatrick, the MacMorras, they can all just go under for a lot of this stuff, the weapons and everything. They can really be put under the category of Anglo-Irish. I was thinking that as well when it came into the study of Hiberno-Norman, both architecture and weapon-wise, to put the likes of the O'Briens, the Gillypatricks, the MacMorras under the category of the Hiberno-Normans because of the fact that we're finding all these effigies and stuff that puts them in that category. But also the fact that the likes of Cashel and Cork, before the arrival of the Normans and the English, were already having these influences coming into the island of Ireland. Somebody was pointing out as well, if you go into the study of architecture in Ireland, like if you take Cormac's Chapel, for example, grab Cormac's Chapel there for a sec. Cormac's Chapel. If you grab this, like, it's so funny because people think to themselves, "Oh, should the Irish? They're too stupid to construct anything very advanced." But then you look at Cormac's Chapel, which is constructed around the 11th to 12th century. It's more advanced than anything that the Normans bring in. Cormac's Chapel. Cormac brings in German architects into the island, you know. So, and that's up in the Rock of Cashel. And it always baffles me when people are making an argument and they're showing me Mountain Baileys and they're saying, "Look how amazing the Normans are. Look how the Normans come in and civilize the Irish." And I'm here giving tours of Cormac's Chapel, and I'm like, looking at Cormac's Chapel that you can see here, and I'm thinking to myself, what are they talking about? And yesterday, I was listening to someone who was making the argument that even if King John had, and other Normans before them, had come in, and even if they hadn't have done that, come in there and brought in much more European, Romanesque style architecture, weapons, etc., that all of that stuff would have been brought into Ireland anyway. And you can see that with McCarthy, you know. I think Ireland still would have been between the Hiberno-Scandinavian world and the European world. But I think with the decline and complete collapse of the slave trade in Dublin, I think Ireland would have been more connected to Europe regardless. But I think the economic golden age of the 10th century was definitely over by the time we get up to the likes of the 13th century and stuff, you know. Do, do, do. I fully agree with that one, Jim. They're all exceptionally beautiful stuff for sure. The Anglo-Irish Kinsale sword just looks amazing. I'm very, very, very biased, you know. I still prefer Irish ring swords. I just think they're insanely beautiful, to be quite honest with you, the Irish ring swords. Albion always do my favorite ring swords, to be quite honest with you. I'll chuck that one up there. Yeah, I'm very biased towards the Irish ring swords. Can I chuck that onto that one? There we go. So I think my favorite would still be the Irish ring sword. But it's interesting because it really does show how the Irish are experimenting with manipulating the hilt, you know, being able to guard, manipulate this, you know, all these type of movements and stuff. Looks like a sword you would use one-handed. Yeah, most of the swords I put on here, you're talking about the Cleve Moore. Actually, I already have a photo here. You're talking about the two-handed swords, which start a lot of arguments. This one here. If I can find Dave Swift's work, 1 second. Dave Swift has a depiction. I don't know if I'll be able to find this right now. I'd have to delve in deep. If I can have a quick scan, I could probably find Dave Swift's work. Yeah. To do with the two-handed sword. But a lot of people argue that the two-handed sword wasn't as big as depicted by the Germans. But, you know, it's debatable. And that the Irish actually, because the problem with that interpretation is the fact that it is what it is. It's a German interpretation. And that in fact, the Cleve Moore in Ireland, at least, is much more smaller on the blade. Let me see if I can find an example of that. Dave Swift would have. Don't think I can find it right now. I'm just quickly plowing through his stuff to find that one example. It might just pop up. God, I'm getting a whole load of memories to do with this. Because I'm at the point where I would have done jobs and stuff for Dave Swift. And I should be popping up soon enough. But I remember a lot of these events and stuff from back in the day. God, so long ago now, looking back. Ah, there's the one. That's the photo I was looking for. But we can see here, and it is a decent argument to say the blade is actually smaller, and that what you're looking at there is a German interpretation. But on saying that, still very much argued. There we go. So you can see straight away in that photo, Dave Swift has a much more smaller interpretation of the Cleve Moore, which makes more sense, you know, when using martial art and stuff. The Cleve Moore would have been very effective, not just skirmish-wise in Ireland, but also dueling and also in line formation, because the ultimate goal is the fact that you have formations up and it's blocking spears, blocking pikes. But in Germany, they're dealing with big, massive formations, massive pikes. Battles are much, much more bigger. But it's harder to move a bigger weapon about. So you could see why the likes of Dave Swift and others are making the argument that the blade and the whole weapon itself is much more smaller than what's depicted by the Germans. But the keynote here is at the time. Dave Swift is not doing his depiction from the era itself of the late medieval Renaissance, when the German artists are living at the time itself. So still very, very debatable. Uh, any nice O'Brien armor and swords? Huh. I know the O'Briens started depicting themselves from the Jacobite and Williamite Wars. Here's a quick second. O'Brien paintings in the 16th century. Have a quick go. I don't think there is. A lot of ones of their ladies. Hmm. Funny enough, you'd think the O'Briens would do paintings. Yeah, it's mostly from the 17th century. Let me chuck up one during the Williamite and Jacobite Wars. Dun. Yeah, we start to see them pop up, sketches and paintings of them popping up in the 16th century. No depictions of them in armor. One of them actually doesn't even have a beard. That's very interesting. They start to switch to moustache, but there's ones depicted with no beards whatsoever, which really shows that they're anglicized at that point. Oh, yeah, big beards again in the 19th century. Do we have any proper? Yeah, a lot of it is the Williamite Jacobite Wars. I think I seen it earlier. Yeah, there we go. What year is this? What are we looking at here? Slightly after. Yeah. 17th century. But you can't really see that one. You can see this one though. Going into the Williamite Jacobite Wars. There we go. But that's gone into the Williamite Jacobite Wars. But it's very interesting that there's no beard at that point. The O'Briens are definitely in the sphere of the Anglo-Irish for sure, but they were always within, even with the arrival of King John and stuff, they were always in that sphere of because they're from the southern eastern areas. So they are that blur between the English culture and the Irish culture for sure. So it's interesting that they have no beards at that point. Looks like real slicey there. Ooh, made wood originally. I would love to have a close look at the. Yeah, but it depends what era and stuff you're talking about for sure. Love the claymore. There is a ring pommel on the concealed sword. Let me have a quick gawk. There we go. Are you talking about that one there, huh? I definitely would need a closer look for sure into that one. I set 8-ton Indonesian limestone at the library at once. I'm more of an axeman though. The Sparta axe, also a very, very good axe from the 16th century. 16th, I say 16th century when it starts to appear in the 15th century. Brilliant weapon, like. See if we can find. Aha. Yeah, absolutely brilliant weapon. You can see why they had mostly formations with these axes. The great thing about this is the fact that you can just poke straight with it. So instead of going for the pole axes that you see in Ireland, what was it, in mainland Europe, you see a lot of these ones. But the great thing about it is you can keep the head of it straight, sharp. So you can actually just poke straight in front of you. And then when you're dealing with the heavy armor, just smash it. So instead of all those complicated pole arms that you see in Europe, a Sparta axe just takes up a lot of those formations. Brilliant weapon, like. I need to get a pole arm Sparta. And of course, the boys are trained on that one as well. It would be great to see. I would love to see a formation of Sparta axes with the claymore in the middle for the late medieval period. You know, that's an experiment that needs to be done in itself. I'm sure if we go to current, was it 16th century depictions of the Irish? Let's see what pops up here. I'm sure there's one, and it shows. Aha! I think I found it. Yeah, there it is. It shows the formation of Kern. And if you switch over to this one here, it's not good enough. Yeah, I can't zoom in anymore, but you can see there on the left side, you can see that formation, the line formation of the Kern. Let me have a closer look into that one. They have pole arms. I just want to confirm that they have the Sparta axe on them. Bum, bum, bum. It's loading there. We'll leave it load for a bit. But yeah, you could just, one can easily imagine a formation of these just hacking up what's in front of them, but also duly, because the head of that should be sharp, so be able to just poke at the head like a spear. So just poke everything that's in front of them, you know? But yeah, I literally a huge fan of the Spar axe for sure. The Claymore is very light, quick, and able. But you can see why Dave Swift makes the argument that the Claymore is much more smaller. If we pop over to Dave Swift's photo again, and it's an easy argument to make, you know, for the likes of Dave Swift and that. Where did I put that blasted photo? Oh, there it is. So you can see that fitting in between the gaps of the Sparta axis, that you have the Claymore men in the middle of that. So the main formation itself is made up of men with the Sparta axe, and then having the in between those gaps, you have the Claymore men blocking, cutting, so on and so forth. And then they're just hacking up what's in front of them in formation. The English and a lot of people in general comment about how good and disciplined the Anglo, was it called, the Irish formations are, that reminds them of the Romans, the way that they're actually rotating around. So even if they're fighting for a certain period of time, they are rotating around. This may have been the standard. I do believe that there may have been different types of cleavemores, claymores, great swords, depending on the situation. That some situations may have had swords like this, other situations perhaps a bigger sword. Depending if you're dealing with a formation of Sparta axes, you're in a formation of spears, or even in a formation of pikes. That if you're in a formation of pikes, perhaps we would have seen this more, especially around the southeast of the island, where we have descriptions of Desmond Fitzgerald with pikes. So definitely interesting for sure. I need to get that. I want a hard copy of Currents and Gallowglass. I might just say it to someone so I can get that copy in there. The one is the picture is way bigger though. The blade would be a lot slender. Yeah, it's a proper thick one. If you're talking about this one here for sure, like who's that again? Without the beard. Give us a second there. Bum, 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 but this isn't until the William Knight Jacobite Wars and stuff like that. I can find his bloody. There he is. And I got that picture from. We'll never know. I'll click back in it. Gives and be patient with me there because I actually X'd out of that picture. I'll pop over to the eras of the William Knight Jacobite Wars. William O'Brien, the second Earl. I'll pop in with his. Give us a second there. If I click on this, just type in William O'Brien, the second Earl, and it should pop up. He was governor of Jamaica. Ooh, I keep our mouth shut about that. You don't want to be getting into trouble. We didn't see anything there for sure. Do you know what, lads? Gallo glass. They're amazing and very, very interesting. um, it's not very Anglo. That's why it's classified as a ring pommel sword. Ah. That bird, Anglo-Irish though. Sometimes you get a bit too buried into it. Like even as you said there, Kevin, I was even saying it today in class. The funniest thing happens in around 1210, around 1206, where Philip II captures Normandy. And then we have military forces being raised, especially around the Kilkenny area, William Marshall's area. And those military forces are being raised up to be sent over to France to fight against the men of Normandy. And I had this conversation before, and somebody wanted me to put it into the category of, although, right, we don't use the word Anglo, the people living between the 12th century, sorry, the 13th, well, yeah, 12th century, 13th century, all the way up to the 15th century, they don't use words like Hiberno-Norman, they don't use Anglo-Irish. We use these words to simplify the conversation, but sometimes the conversation gets so oversimplified that we're not even having a conversation about the medieval world anymore. We're just having our interpretation of the medieval world. For example, when Philip II takes over Normandy and the men of Normandy who live in Normandy are now fighting the English. And that's literally what the literature says. The literature says the men of Normandy are fighting the men of England, right? But that's not how we're having a modern conversation, because in the modern conversation, to simplify the conversation, we've started to use the word Anglo-Norman or Hiberno-Norman, although that's not the words that they were using in the contents. In the context, in the actual literature itself, they're using Gaul to describe the men of Kilkenny, just to simplify the conversation more, right? So the men of Kilkenny are raised around, especially in 1220. In 1220, by William Marshall, he raises his forces in Kilkenny and he goes to the north of France, to Normandy, to fight the Normans. But the way historians and some academics want to have the now, this problem has been brought up last year. It was brought up last year, but what was it? William Marshall raises his military force in Kilkenny, and then he goes off to fight in the north of France. But the problem is, a lot of these history books and academic books just keep using the word Hiberno-Norman. And when I brought this problem up a few months back in a short and a few other videos and stuff, and even live streaming, people wanted me to keep using the word Hiberno-Norman because the word Anglo or English or any of words like that offended them. Although that's how, I wouldn't say that's how they, call themselves specifically. They call themselves foreign or Gael, which means foreign to the native Irish, the Gaelic. But at the same time, they're also referred to as the king's men in Ireland because they see themselves as civilized. They don't see them like, sometimes they refer to themselves as English in a civilized way. But okay, granted, William Marshall is born in England. But many of these men who live in Kilkenny, not only are some of them actually descended from Gaelic families, but others have married into Gaelic families or have just been living there now for generations. So it's just funny, well, the third generation at least. So it's funny to refer to them as the Hyper-Normans, or in some cases, as I pointed out, the Normans, who are now going to Normandy to fight the Normans. So you have the Normans of Ireland, the Normans, invading Normandy to fight the Normans. So as a conversation to try to simplify the conversation, I don't think it works. Do you know? And the only reason people use the terms Hiberno Norman or Norman in Ireland is meant to simplify the conversation, and yet it's very much complicated. Made the conversation much more complicated, and even worse again when it comes down to politically, because we're meant to now do all these anniversaries going up to 2030 and all this stuff that's been meant to be paid for by France because France wants to celebrate the Norman invasions. England has no problem, but the Irish feel that, well, Sinn Féin in particular, don't want to celebrate it because they see it as 800 years of British occupation instead of looking at it as a bunch of medieval families fighting amongst themselves, which is how the literature describes it. It does point out, first and foremost, recognizes them first and foremost as their families, then as whatever group they're going to class them in. And they never look at it from a nationalist perspective. Even the fact that they do refer to William Marshall, for example, as a member of the Gael in Ireland, foreigner. Um, Not Gael, sorry, Gaul. The fact that they refer to him as Gaul and living in between the worlds of the English and the Irish, So yeah, sometimes that word Anglo can be quite funny at times, and even the classification, because most of the time it's very difficult to class people outside of the Anglo-Irish world in the 15th century in the southeast of the island. I think everyone just kind of blurs in there. There's massive differences between Archmacmore Cavanagh in around 1399, but then he's marrying like English women, So I don't know. It's complicated, like. The exchange, the size of the things, some details. Swords, bagpipes are very common. Mm. These shirts look like they're 5 or 6 feet long. These swords look like they're. Oh, yeah, yeah. Yeah, some of them are absolutely massive for sure. What time am I on now? I'll do another 10 minutes there, then I'll finish up with that one. And I will start work. What do I need to do? Oh, I'm with Melissa Shields tomorrow. Yeah, that's what we have tomorrow. Hopefully, I can get in contact with Restream. I could fix that because God, this is just a continuous problem. I think from now on, I'll just scrap the whole Twitch thing. That always seems to have problems. If I can redirect Restream straight to this, absolutely no problems. But on top of that as well, I want to make sure it works from now on because even right now, not working whatsoever. Very, very, very cranky. But it is what it is. And what else do I need to do? So tomorrow we're with Dr. Militia Shields, and we're going to be talking about clothing in the 16th century for both the Anglo-Irish clothing and the Gaelic clothing of the 16th century. Then on Wednesday night, we're going to be covering the Gaelic resurgence in Ireland. I'm assuming because it's Dr. Owen O'Neill who's going to start off the conversation, and I'm assuming he wants to start somewhere around 1320. So about 1320, he's going to start that conversation on the Gaelic resurgence in Ireland. And then obviously he's going to pick that up, and I'm going to take up the second half from around 1370 to 1420. So I'll definitely be taking that one and running with that one for sure. Yeah, wasn't that one? Oh, he also didn't have a beard as well. Yeah, yeah. Fascinating stuff, like. But they all seem to cut off their beards after the 16th century and delve much more into the Anglo-Irish world, which is, I don't know, I'm not a huge fan of it. I like a big bushy beard to show off manliness, show off the old status. But, each their own. It's interesting the boys also have moustaches instead of beard as well. They don't have the big bushy beards. It's very interesting. Instead, they just kind of have the moustache. Interesting stuff. I think it's meant to be show off both manliness, but at the same time showing that they're civilized. But I do like the big bushy beards as well. And so we have tomorrow is Melissa Shields covering 16th century clothing. Wednesday we have, so that's gonna be Monday night for you guys because you guys are still on the Sunday. And then on Monday night it will be Melissa Shields, Dr. Melissa Shields, covering 16th century clothing of the Anglo-Irish and Gaelic. Then on Wednesday night for you guys, you're going to have your man himself. Oh, what is his bloody name again? Oh, Dr. Owen O'Neill, and we're going to cover the Gaelic resurgence in Ireland. Then on Friday, we might do a live stream inside there as well. Yeah, and then next week again, we'll see what we can do next week. But definitely, we're definitely having a live stream on the 19th as well. GoFundMe, see if we can put together some money so myself and Rachel can do a project on 15th century clothing. So we'll see what we can do there. And then on the 25th, well, the 24th for you guys on Christmas Eve, we will be doing a live stream Christmas special for sure. Anyway, other than that, guys, thanks very much.